Hit up YouTube, I'm Eric, thanks for clicking the video. This is the season finale episode of Tales of the Loonaverse, where I tell the story of the Loonaverse from each subunit and how I think they lead towards the end of the Loonaverse. It's like a quick way to get caught up in the story. This is of course the Odd Eye Circle arc, covering everything relative to them up to the Why Not era. That being said, I do also recommend checking out my YY by Y in 1/3 episode, because a lot of things that I talk about here also play out there. So if you're confused with some parts here, that's because it plays into a different arc. But if you do end up liking the video, please do leave a like. It really does help support the channel and makes it easier for other theorists to find too. That being said, if you like what I do here and want to see more videos like this in the future, consider hitting that subscribe button. But let's begin the Odd Eye Circle arc, where it all starts. Sweet, crazy love. To make it easier to follow, I split the sections up for each member. It's also worth knowing that almost everything is implied to be taking place during or near the same time. So let's begin with JinSoul and Sweet Crazy Love. You start Sweet Crazy Love seeing JinSoul in the subway car, which actually isn't where her story begins. JinSoul's story actually begins is when she goes to an optometrist to get her eyes checked. While doing the exam, the doctor gives JinSoul adjustable trial frames. Apparently that's what these things are called. And proceeds with the visual acuity test to test her vision. But when she switches her left eye, her eye changes, and she could barely see the rows of numbers, hangul, and pictures. Now I had to do some pretty hard digging to find a better image that's actually in focus, so here is that picture. Now this obviously isn't the same as they used in the music video, because where I found this image, and I'll link it in the description, was from a Naver blog article posted this year in September, and Sweet Crazy Love was made back in 2017. But it is the same visual acuity test. Just from the pictures on the side, you can clearly see what to me looks like an airplane, a butterfly, a bird, and a fish. Any of these sound familiar to you? Because all of them should. Continuing with the story, the doctor is frightened by this and gives JinSoul an eye patch or an eye cover and sends her home. After the appointment, she goes to an aquarium and sees one blue fish slowly moving around the tank. Concerned for the fish's well-being, she asks a worker to go check on it. The worker goes, but comes back to JinSoul with a fish in a bag, saying the fish wasn't doing well. JinSoul, being the kind-hearted person she is, tells the worker that she'll take good care of it and leaves, taking the subway. While riding the subway, she listens to music, but suddenly something removes one of her earphones. Kinda rude. She turns to see the perpetrator but finds no one else in the car. Her headphone now rests next to the fish in the bag, but she senses someone whispering in her ear. Shocked by this, she takes the fish in the bag and holds it up. Wanting to see the fish fully, she removes her eye patch and reveals her eye, now shining blue, feeling a connection to this fish. She exits the subway and knows that she has to explore the world to find answers to why she is experiencing all this. Kim Lip, Sweet Crazy Love. Kim Lip, walking alone through the night like the boss she is, stops in the middle of an alleyway. Then she does what any normal person would do, alone, at night, in an alleyway. Start dancing. As she moves away from the center of the street, she feels a slight irritation in her left eye. She steps off to the side of the road to rest, texting her friend, but suddenly a car passes by, and she feels a strong pull towards something or someone in that car. Compelled to do so, she gives chase to the car, making the electrical lines above spark, but ultimately is too slow to keep up, and she gives up for now. She goes back to her backpack, and knowing that she has to explore the world to find answers to why she's experiencing all this. Choerry, Sweet Crazy Love. Choerry is in an underground parking lot doing, of course, what any person would do in an underground parking lot. Dance to Sweet Crazy Love, obviously. As she's leaving, she feels a slight irritation in her right eye. She heads up the staircase, but stops at the landing and feels the wall, sensing a familiar energy, almost as it's her own. She makes her way up to the hallway of the building of the underground parking lot, but is now nauseous her left eye is making her, holding herself up against the wall and eventually sitting down against the wall to rest. She eventually makes her way out of the building into a car and tries to rest while on her way home. While driving through the streets, Choerry is still asleep. The car passes a girl on the side of the road, and Choerry slowly wakes up to a strong force pulling her to the girl just outside the car, but eventually the car is far enough away from this girl to not have a real pulling force. Powering the Odd Eyes. Kimlip, Eclipse. Let's start where Sweet Crazy Love left off, the start of Eclipse. After wandering the world, Kimlip finds herself in an abandoned building where a red platform sits in the center. Lippy, realizing that this is the place where she can find answers, drops her backpack at the entrance and walks up the red platform in the center. As she stood atop the red platform, she feels a force take over her and begins to dance. Not so much as a dance, but rather a ritual. This force from another world that took over her now fully merges with Kimlip, and now she has become a fully powered Odd Eye girl. After this merging and the ritual complete, this force inside her now tells her that she needs to construct a new moon by getting, including herself, 12 specific girls to come together and to run when the moon was at its fullest. But she would need the help from the other Odd Eye girls to do it. With her newfound knowledge, Kimlip leaves this abandoned building to search for the other Odd Eye girls. JinSoul, Singing in the Rain. After realizing her connection to this fish in a bag, she explores the world with it, and she eventually finds herself alone at night on an airport runway. She peers into the fish in the bag, but can feel that something or someone is watching her. Scared of what lurks in the darkness, she runs, but slows down when she starts to feel water droplets coming down, sticking her hand out to check if it was starting to rain. In doing so, a force took over her, and she begins to dance. Not so much as a dance, but again, rather a ritual, and is teleported to a room filled with the fish tanks, and the fish she was carrying is now in a jar. She explores the room of fish tanks and finds one separated and without a cover. She puts her hand in it, but as she moves her hand through the water, she leaves an almost ink-like blue cloud in the water. Realizing this specific fish tank's significance, she wonders if her blue fish relates to this. She removes the lid from the jar holding the fish and pours the fish into the tank. Right as the fish enters the water, JinSoul and the force that took her to this place merge and are teleported back to the runway, but where it's raining now. As she completes her ritual, the rain stops, and the fish that was in the bag is now gone, and JinSoul has now become a fully powered Odd Eye girl. This force inside her now tells her that she has to construct a new moon by getting, including herself, 12 specific girls to come together and run when the moon is at its fullest. But she would need the help from the other Odd Eye girls to do it. And just like Kimlip, she leaves the runway in search of the other Odd Eye girls. Choerry, Love Choerry Motion. Choerry, on her way to a friend's house from school, walks to a beach where she looks out to the sea, happily. She walks to her friend's house where her good friends Hasso and Yojin are. Choerry sees Hasso through a window and uses her mirror to reflect light at Hasso to get her attention. She waves and enters the house, drops her backpack, and jumps out the bed to greet her friends. The three notice that Choerry is still in her school uniform and decide that she needs to change clothes. The three together pick out a matching outfit for Choerry, and she quickly changes clothes. Being the summertime, the three decide that the perfect thing to do in the summer is to swim in the pool, which they do. But while they're swimming outside, JinSoul, using her new Odd Eye powers, teleports into the house and sets a slice of cake with a very special cherry on top on the bed for Choerry. After a quick dip in the pool, the three come back inside and start eating snacks and playing games. While playing games, Choerry notices a cake with a cherry on top. She goes to it, takes the cherry, and eats it, and passes out. As she wakes up, it's apparent that she's no longer at her friend's house. Confused, she looks around the room, but something is reflecting into her eyes from outside. She looks outside and sees a figure reflecting light. Choerry doesn't know this, but it's actually Kimlip in the distance, reflecting light at her, while JinSoul watches from a nearby window. Choerry, curious to who was reflecting light at her, leaves the building and chases after this figure. She winds up in the field with 12 mirrors scattered around the ground. She looks into all of them, only seeing her reflection, but one of them was different. Along with showing her reflection, the Choerry on the other side held out another special cherry, suggesting that Choerry should catch it. and Choerry's surprised to see this. The mirrored cherry drops a cherry, but it goes through the mirror and Choerry catches the cherry and she again eats it and passes out. While passed out, she changes. The person in the mirror and Choerry merge and she wakes up, but finds herself in the same field, but now everything is purple, as if everything has been inverted, and the ceilings are a little low. Confused, she starts running, but stops and smiles when she looks to the sky and sees 3 moons of red, purple, and blue near each other. She turns around and sees Lip and JinSoul are standing right behind her, and they tell Choerry about the new moon plan. Notice how even though all 3 of them are together, the moons do not merge into one. They need all 12 girls together. The 3 moons of Odd have finally come together, and the 3 decide to stand at the front lines in defense to save the world under their new slogan, Girlfront. The Starlit Apple. The girls of Otter Circle are very smart. They plan out how they're going to go through everything, how they were going to rally the other girls, marking specific places where the other girls could be when the day comes, and mark a spot on the map where the 3 of them would meet up when they were done. After finishing planning for the day, Lip and JinSoul fall asleep in the trailer. Choerry's still awake and notices someone lurking outside the trailer, but doesn't tell anyone about it. They also depict this during the Girlfriend music video where the girls are planning on the map while someone with a cassette player is running around them. As night approaches, Lip and JinSoul leave together, and Choerry goes home by herself. On her way, she feels an uneasiness in the tunnel and stops and just sits to the side of the tunnel. Very similar events like during her parts in Sweet Crazy Love. The night rapidly approaches, and Choerry is alone in the tunnel, but suddenly, her mirror drops next to her, already opened. She looks into it and sees someone walking up behind her, and she gets up and sees a person walking towards her with an apple. She says her name is Eve and she knows all about the Odd Girls. She tells Choerry that she needs her help to help one of her friends, Go-On, in Eden to escape. Eve goes on by saying that she needs to give Go-On her apple because when Eve returns to Eden, she would be searched to be sure she wasn't bringing anything from the outside world in. Choerry, understanding the situation, agrees, and Eve wanders back into the night, returning to Eden. After a while of thinking when was the right time to go to Eden, she does it. Choerry, sticking to her word, teleports to Eden, and with the Eden disguise on the ceiling, imitating a bat, drops off the apple for Go-On. And as fast as she teleports in, she teleports out to prepare for when the Odd Girls execute their plan. Girlfriend preparation. Alright, time for the most confusing LOONA music video to ever been released and easily the hardest to make sense of because it jumps to different time points in the Loonaverse timeline. A lot. Before moving forward, you should probably know where and when they got this map. How I see it and where it makes the most sense in my timeline is this scene. I think that this is the original map that flies in to help Odd Circle from someone unknown. Now the counterpoint to this is that this map is partially ripped, and the scene is a different Choerry receiving a paper airplane from herself, which is a fair argument. They do have Choerry throwing a paper airplane and then cuts to the paper airplane again landing near her, but as you should know by now, what is shown sequentially in music videos are rarely linear in the timeline. Remember, they like to jump around the timeline a lot, especially in this music video. To give context to people who haven't watched the LOONA TV episodes that involved this music video filming, this scene was actually the last shot they did in America, so it is possible that the map partially ripped during transit to this final location. I would also say that the map also doesn't show Hyojin's frog sticker or Hyojin's cat sticker where they're supposed to be, so it only makes sense that this would have to take place before Choerry threw the paper airplane in the scene prior. Checkmate. I'll get back to where Choerry threw the airplane, but my conclusion is for this part is that this is the original map and they used tape or something to fix the rip and are now using it to mark locations of where the other girls will be when the moon is near its fullest. Alright, to make sure I didn't lose anyone here and to further elaborate and breeze through this part of the section, the timeline here and how the story takes place is Choerry finds the paper airplane while Lip is using her Odd powers to look into someone's future and mimics her shooting something. Choerry calls to the girl saying that she's found something. JinSoul teleports back into the trailer, and they take the map into the trailer to plan out some details, marking one spot on the map where they all would meet once the plan was done. Choerry takes the map and goes through the scouting mission to mark a place on the map where Hyunjin will be when the moon is near its fullest, and also encounters another Choerry. Choerry returns to the trailer where they're done planning. They leave to go to the city in the yellow Dodge truck, but before they leave, Choerry takes the map and folds it into a paper airplane and sends it off, letting it ride the winds, eventually landing in a very familiar place. As they get to the city, JinSoul and Kim Lip split off from Choerry to go into a riverbed to do a practice run. They stare away from each other, preparing to go about their task. Just before they begin, they turn to face each other and smile. JinSoul's blue odd eye now active. Kim Lip turns back and starts running, and JinSoul turns away and starts teleporting. Kim Lip, finished with her practice run, goes to meet up with Choerry. Execute order run. Kim Lip and Choerry meet at a shipping dock where they prepare to rally the 12 girls to run when the moon is at its fullest. For a brief moment they run alongside each other and eventually split off to find their girls. Let's start with Choerry. Choerry runs to find Hyunjin looking up to the sky on a bridge and runs to give her a high five, but suddenly she tells Hyunjin that she senses a girl that is lost and alone in the dark forest, and to save her, she has to sing a sonatine, and Hyunjin does it. But now, Choerry has to go back between worlds, and she briefly teleports away. Kim Lip. After splitting off from Choerry, Kim Lip finds another girl, Hyunjin, on a rooftop. Being able to see through time and space with her odd eye, she tells Hyunjin that the girl she just met on the roof is now in trouble and needs to sing her a sonatine to help the girl who is lost alone in the dark forest. And she does. Kim Lip, sensing her presence is needed between worlds, tells Hyunjin that she needs Hyunjin to run when the moon is at its fullest to help build a new moon, and then teleports away between worlds. JinSoul. This isn't really canon, I can't really prove this part just yet, but I think that JinSoul not doing something like the other Odd Eye Circle members in Hi High implies that she does something we haven't seen yet, specifically with Hasa and Yejin. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for Hasa and Yejin to have known when and why they needed to run. The Wolf Between Worlds. All the girls of Odd Eye Circle wait between worlds when suddenly a girl they know as Olivia Hay appears before them. Olivia tells them that all she wants is to be with the YY by Y members, now that she has more love than anger. The girls of Odd Eye Circle see how much Olivia Hay has gone through and agrees to teleport her close to them, but on the condition that when she meets with the YY by Y members, she must run with them when the moon is at its fullest to help start the construction of a new moon. Olivia Hay agrees and then is teleported back into the dark forest, but closer to where the other YY by Y members are. The Run. Continuing with their plan, JinSoul teleports to a parking garage, Kim Lip back to the bottom of the staircase where she met Hyunjin, and Choerry teleports near Hyunjin. They wait for the moon to be at its fullest, and as fast as they could, all the Loonas around the world run, starting the moon's transformation. The Bat and the Cat. Choerry and Hyunjin, now almost a half of the other, might have been a result of the high five and the hug in Hi High, watched together as the moon sheds its old self in preparation for its new self, sending fragments of the moon falling towards Earth. Why not? This new connection between Hyunjin and Choerry continue as the moon begins to take on its new form. Choerry goes back between worlds while the world burns from the falling meteors, but still has remnants of Hyunjin within her, hence why she is seen wearing yellow, and potentially why one of the moons that ordered around Kim Lip in the fields where she led Choerry from before has a strikingly more yellow tint than the others, which is why she looks afraid here, only really staring at that new yellow moon has seemingly replaced one that used to be the same, which could explain why and where Hyunjin's shoe is at the end of the video, because it's only the half of her, and Choerry is the other half. As the music video goes on, we see the moons go back to the same color, not a single one of them far off tint from the other, and now Kinlip begins to levitate with the moons. And in the odd eye realm, 12 moons begin to rise in a spiral. It is apparent that something is happening here during this time gap, something that would hopefully be shown in LOONA's next music video. The end of the Loonaverse. Once the new moon has finally taken on its new form, and now lying still in color, the girls of Odd Eye Circle have finally returned to where they marked on the map where they would meet when they were finished. Choerry and Kinlip are already there waiting for JinSoul to appear. JinSoul teleports to where her friends of Odd Eye Circle are, turning to see them, tired, but still smiling, happy to see all of them again. The three come together holding each other's hands, relieved it's finally over, only releasing each other to admire what they've created. They did it. They created a new moon. And so ends the tale of the Loonaverse. Or does it? But yeah, that was the Odd Eye Circle arc of the Tales of the Loonaverse. This of course was the season finale of the Tales of the Loonaverse. Of course, when LOONA uploads more videos that link to the Loonaverse, I'll be sure to update everything from each arc. But if you like the video, please do leave a like. It really does help support the channel and allows other theorists to find the videos as well. If you like what I do here and you want to see more videos like this in the future, consider hitting that subscribe button. But I hope you enjoyed this series. Plenty more to come. I'll see you in the next one. Later.